What if I told you that doubt in your mind was never yours to begin with? It wasn't born with you. It wasn't carved from truth or forged by facts. It was implanted, planted by repetition, by years of hearing you can't, by witnessing others settle for less, by watching dreams shrink to fit inside cages built by fear. That hesitation you carry, that tiny persistent voice urging you to pause, to question your power, it doesn't belong to you. It's borrowed, programmed, drilled into your psyche. But here's the truth. You weren't created to second-guess yourself. You were made to build, to rise, to conquer. Not someday, not when everything feels perfect, but right now. And if you lean in, truly lean in, and let these words take root, if you let them echo in your mind and revisit them again and again, something will shift. Not in theory, not in some vague what if, but right there in your core, in your identity. Because this isn't about motivation or inspiration. This is about rewiring. It's about dismantling the systems that allowed doubt to control you for far too long. And when this process is done, you won't even recognize the version of yourself that accepted mediocrity as your limit. Because here's the deal. Doubt is just a habit. And habits, they can be shattered. But belief is a choice. It's the decision to remember who you were before the world told you to play small. Today, we're going back to that person who dared to dream without limit, the one who didn't wait for guarantees to take action, the one who walked as if success was a foregone conclusion. And let me tell you something most people never hear. That version of you, they're still there, watching, waiting, wondering when you'll finally silence the noise and take up space again. So let's start here. Say it out loud. I wasn't built for doubt. I was built to win. Say it louder. I wasn't made to question. I was made to choose. Keep saying it until you shake off every last whisper of hesitation. Courage isn't something you wait for. It's something you move with, because today we're not here to flirt with belief. We're here to cement it, to make it unshakable. Once belief becomes a law in your mind, your actions, your voice, the results will follow. Doubt will have no place left to hide. Stay with me. From this moment to the very last word, let's strip doubt out of your soul piece by piece and seal it off for good. Make no mistake, doubt wasn't born with you. No one comes into this world afraid to fail. Doubt is a toxin of the environment, a parasite that thrives only when fed. And sadly, the world is full of feeders. But you weren't born to feed fear. You were born to chase, to burn with curiosity, to hunger for more. Think of any young child. They don't question if they can walk. They stumble, they try, they fall, and they get back up. They don't ask for permission to explore. They just move. They scream and reach and climb, not because they're sure of success, but because they haven't yet been taught to be afraid. Doubt isn't natural. It's learned. It's modeled. It's pressed into you by voices that didn't know better. And today we throw it out. Today you reclaim who you really are. The person who doesn't just dream of more, but takes it. This is your moment. Let's rise. By the time you grow up, society often teaches you, whether directly or subtly, that your strength is a problem, that your fire needs to be extinguished, and that dreaming is reserved for others. But here's the truth. If you've learned to doubt yourself, you can also learn to believe again. Reclaiming that belief starts with remembering who you are before the world told you who to be. It begins with a small, defiant act, refusing to accept hesitation just because others around you did. Let's look at how some remarkable individuals embrace this mindset. Take Henry Ford, for instance. He wasn't born into privilege, no elite education, no silver spoon. Yet he never allowed doubt to take root in his mind. When Ford envisioned an affordable car for the masses, the world called him crazy. Even his own highly educated engineers declared his 8-cylinder engine idea impossible. And Ford's response? Build it anyway. Not once, not twice. Every time they came back with failed attempts, he told them again, build it anyway. That wasn't luck or genius. It was sheer, unshakable belief. Ford trained his mind to trust his vision, not the limits of his circumstances. He replaced doubt with decisive action. And that determination didn't just shape his future, it revolutionized an industry. Then there's Thomas Edison, a man who failed over 10,000 times trying to create the electric light. Imagine that, 10,000 opportunities for doubt to creep in and take over. But Edison didn't let it. He didn't just hope he could succeed. He believed it deeply and repeatedly. He didn't say, I'll try. He said, I will. That belief wasn't a fleeting feeling. It was an identity, a core part of who he was. Failures didn't faze him because he didn't tie his worth to his setbacks. Instead, he pushed forward, fueled by a conviction he had reinforced through constant repetition, this will work. And eventually, it did. His belief wasn't based on proof. It was built through persistent, deliberate action. Here's the key. Belief isn't some magical feeling that just appears. It's not a gift from the universe or the result of endless meditation. It's a skill. It's constructed piece by piece, like a bridge or a habit. Belief is a choice, a decision you make again and again, even when you don't feel it. It's practicing that belief until it outweighs the nagging voice of doubt. Andrew Carnegie understood this better than most. In studying his life and strategies, I learned something that permanently shifted my perspective. To Carnegie, belief wasn't optional or fleeting, it was fundamental. It was the bedrock of action, the cornerstone of everything he built. Belief isn't something you wait for, it's something you create through action, through repetition, through unrelenting commitment to the person you're becoming. Whether you're facing failure, rejection, or impossibility, belief is the engine that keeps you moving forward. And when you nurture it, it becomes your foundation, unshakable, unbreakable, and yours to build upon. He once told me, if you don't take control of your own mind, someone else will. And that's exactly what doubt is. A signal that you've handed over your power. Not intentionally, not all at once, but gradually, piece by piece, you let doubt creep in and dictate your actions. That stops today. Right now, you're awake. You see doubt for what it truly is, a weight you were never meant to carry. It wasn't born with you. It's something the world handed you. And now, you're handing it back. Say this out loud. Doubt doesn't belong to me. I refuse to carry it. Say it again. I don't live by second guessing. I live by decisive action. This is where it begins. Not by waiting to feel powerful, but by speaking power into existence. By walking with purpose, standing with confidence, even before it feels natural. Because your subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to repetition. Every step you take like a creator, every word you speak like a leader, every action you take like a winner, you are shaping a new belief. The man you're meant to be isn't out of reach. He's already inside you. He's just waiting for the noise to quiet down so he can rise. This is your moment. The moment when everything changes. The moment you make a decision so bold, so irreversible that your old self cannot survive it. Here's a truth most men don't realize. You don't find your identity, you create it. You don't stumble into greatness by chance, you claim it. You don't wait to feel confident, you decide right now that confidence is how you'll carry yourself. Fearless, you don't have to wait for fear to disappear. You choose to act in spite of it. And with every action, you rewrite the story of who you are. Every man lives inside an identity, but here's the difference. The great ones choose theirs. Most people live trapped within an identity they never drafted, built on accidents, fears, and the tiny opinions of others. They become a patchwork of contradictions, full of potential but unable to act. But those who achieve greatness, they make a choice. They decide who they are, not based on what the world says, but on a vision of who they could become. That's the secret. Look at Henry Ford. Before he shaped an industry, before he revolutionized transportation, he made one simple decision. He would build a car that anyone could afford. That was it. One sentence, one commitment, one line he wouldn't cross. And that decision transformed everything. He stopped thinking like a mechanic and started acting like a visionary. He wasn't just fixing cars. He was building a future only he could see. When doubters mocked him, when bankers and engineers dismissed him, he didn't flinch. Why? Because he had already decided who he was. And once a man does that, the world loses its power to define him. The same was true for Thomas Edison. Do you think Edison stumbled into becoming an inventor, that the light bulb was simply luck? Of course not. Long before the world believed in him, Edison made a decision. He declared who he was, and every invention, every failure, every attempt was fueled by that identity. Greatness doesn't come by accident. It starts with a choice, a decision to stop living by default and start living by design. The question is, who will you decide to be? He declared, I will light up the world, and then without hesitation he set off toward that vision. Each day he took a step forward. When others called him naive, when failure greeted him over and over, when results seemed like a distant dream, he kept moving. Why? Because in his mind the outcome was already real. He was simply catching up to it. Here's the truth. Results follow identity, not the other way around. If you think you need proof of your greatness before you claim it, you've already lost the game. Those who rise aren't waiting for permission. They decide to rise. They rise first in silence, then in solitude, often without any evidence to back them up. Leaders like Abraham Lincoln didn't wait for the world's approval. Through war and chaos, he was guided by his decision, not public opinion. He had already chosen his values: freedom, unity, dignity, and because of that, fear could not touch him. Now it's your turn. This moment is your line in the sand. Who are you? Who do you choose to become today? Not based on your past, but on your potential. Until you decide, truly decide, doubt will always have a seat at your table. You must declare, I am not a man of hesitation. I am a man of action. Don't just say it once. Say it over and over until it becomes your truth. Say it until your subconscious soaks it in and treats it as law. Identity isn't given. It's forged through repetition. Decision creates belief, and belief shapes destiny. Here's a ritual for you. Each morning before the chaos of the day begins, declare aloud who you are. Not timidly, but with conviction. Write it down. Speak it clearly. Act in alignment with it, even on the days you don't feel like it. Your feelings will catch up to your actions. As Carnegie once said, a man's habits are simply his beliefs in motion. A king doesn't act like a servant. A leader doesn't wait for permission. A winner doesn't entertain doubt. With every step forward, the belief in your identity will deepen until it becomes unshakable. So ask yourself, what decision have you been avoiding? What version of yourself have you put on pause? What identity have you been too afraid to claim? That hesitation ends here. Today, you decide. You write your new story. You let go of the person you've been and step fully into who you're meant to become. Burn the bridges to the old version of you. Leave no path to retreat. From this moment on, doubt has no power over you. Progress doesn't come from dipping a toe in the water. It comes from commitment. Movement without commitment is just motion. It's not progress. No empire was built by someone clinging to a backup plan. No legacy was written by someone who left the door open for mediocrity. The men who built history, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, Lincoln, they understood one thing. If you leave yourself an escape route, you'll always be tempted to take it. That's why they burned their bridges. That's why they committed fully, no matter how hard the road became. Take Hernan Cortez, who landed on the shores of Mexico in 1519 with an army that was hopelessly outnumbered. What was his first move? He burned the ships that brought them there, not out of recklessness, but because he understood a profound truth. When you eliminate the option to retreat, you force yourself to move forward with absolute focus. This principle isn't just for war or conquest. It applies to every area of life. Henry Ford didn't say, if cars don't work out, we'll go back to making carriages. No, he committed fully, and the world adjusted to match his decision. So here's your call to action. Stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Burn the ships and choose who you are, act on it, and let the world adjust. Your destiny isn't waiting. It's demanding your commitment. And the moment you decide, truly decide, the path forward will reveal itself. He risked it all. When Henry Ford committed to the Model T, he didn't hedge his bets or play it safe. He shut down every other car production line in his company, despite opposition from his board and peers. He simplified, he streamlined, he focused, and in doing so, he sparked a revolution in manufacturing. Why? Because backing out wasn't an option. Ford didn't seek comfort, he sought completion. Thomas Edison had the same relentless. When he set out to invent a working light bulb, he faced more than 10,000 failed attempts. But each failure wasn't the end for Edison. It was just another step forward. He famously said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's not the mindset of someone clinging to a backup plan. That's the resolve of a man who locked the exit door, tossed the key, and lit a fire behind him. Andrew Carnegie, a young immigrant with nothing but a telegraph job and big dreams, refused to let poverty define him. For him, wealth wasn't just a desire, it was a necessity for creating impact. He didn't dabble in ambition, he pursued it with unshakable focus. Carnegie mastered industry, management, and communication, and when he committed to steel, he poured himself into it completely. That unwavering dedication propelled him to greatness. So, what's holding you back? Be honest. Is it the job you hold on to because it feels safe even as it drains your passion? Is it the voice inside you that you silence for fear of judgment? Is it the plan you keep postponing, telling yourself you'll start when the timing is perfect? These aren't strategies. They're shelters for fear. And as long as they exist, you'll never step fully into your power. You can't build something great while keeping one foot in retreat. To succeed, you must commit with everything. True commitment means eliminating the escape routes. It's easy to say, I'm all in. It's another thing entirely to remove every backup plan. That's what the greats did. Abraham Lincoln didn't waver when it came to preserving the Union. He faced war, division, and incredible sacrifice, but he knew the soul of the nation demanded unwavering conviction. He didn't leave room for compromise. He etched his stand into history with both ink and blood. Now it's your turn. Burn the retreat. Let fear roar. Let doubt shake. Let the part of you that clings to safety protest. But don't go back. Erase maybe. Delete someday. Forget if this doesn't work, I'll. Those phrases are excuses disguised as options. If you were made to succeed, and I believe you were, then act like it. Remove every option except victory. Even when progress feels slow, even when the road feels lonely, even when no one notices, especially then. Because when you decide, truly decide, something shifts. Your mind stops negotiating, your energy stops scattering, your focus sharpens, and the world begins to bend. Say it aloud. There is no retreat. I've made my decision, and the door behind me is gone. I move forward with no escape. These words aren't meant to be spoken once. They must be repeated daily until doubt becomes unrecognizable. This isn't about theatrics, it's about discipline. Burning the bridge isn't loud or dramatic. It's the quiet decision you make every morning to stand your ground. Hold that line long enough and something incredible happens. Fear loses its grip. Doubt fades because it knows you're no longer listening. Every person has an inner voice, a voice that shapes their life long before the world does. It's the voice that speaks when no one else is around, when the lights go out, when results don't come, when the applause is faded. That voice isn't always kind, supportive, or even truthful, but it's always there. If you don't take control of it, it will control you. This is the power of autosuggestion, the practice of feeding your subconscious clear, consistent, and emotionally charged instructions until they transform into your identity. Subconscious doesn't argue or reason. It accepts whatever it's told, repeatedly and with emotion. And therein lies the key, your greatest threat or your greatest weapon. Choose wisely. And let me illustrate this with real-life examples. When Henry Ford famously said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right," it wasn't just a clever quote to grab attention. It was the foundation of how he built his empire. Ford wasn't the most educated. He didn't have countless degrees or master every intricate detail of his business. What he did have was a relentless inner voice that repeated one simple mantra: "It will be done." He trained his mind to believe in success, and in doing so, his subconscious worked tirelessly to make it happen. This is where so many people falter. They let their inner dialogue become their biggest enemy. Doubt, fear, hesitation, worry, even sarcasm play on repeat in their minds. And then they wonder why they struggle to make progress. Here's the reality. Your subconscious mind doesn't understand when you're joking about being lazy, stuck, or incapable. It takes those thoughts seriously. It follows them as command. Over time, those thoughts shape your actions and ultimately your outcomes. Take Thomas Edison, for example. After thousands of failed attempts to create a functioning light bulb, a reporter asked him how he kept going. Edison simply said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That wasn't just optimism, it was mental programming. Every time Edison spoke those words, he reinforced a mindset of resilience. He conditioned his inner voice to persist, and as a result, failure never had a chance to take root. His mind stayed focused on the goal. Andrew Carnegie understood this concept as well. He encouraged the young men he mentored to write down their ultimate goals and read them aloud every morning and night. Why? Because he knew the power of repetition. He believed that when you speak your intentions with conviction, they become ingrained in your mind. The words you say become the thought you believe, and those beliefs shape your reality. Now think about yourself for a moment. What do you tell yourself when no one's around, when results aren't coming as fast as you'd like? Are you saying, "I'm tired, this probably won't work, maybe I'm not cut out for this"? These aren't harmless phrases. They're seeds of doubt taking root in your mind, and the more you repeat them, the deeper they grow. But here's the good news. You can rewrite the script. You can change the narrative in your head, starting right now. It begins with discipline. Each morning, before anyone else has the chance to influence your thoughts, you set the tone. Look in the mirror and declare your intentions. Say, "I act before fear takes hold. I stay focused. I follow through on my commitments even when no one is watching." And at night, just before you sleep, when your mind is most open, repeat your goals, your vision, your next steps. Why? Because the subconscious clings to what it hears last. This isn't fluff. It's neuroscience. It's how your brain turns thoughts into habits, habits into instincts, and instincts into results. Even Charles M. Schwab, one of the great industrial leaders, mastered this mental discipline. His optimism wasn't blind or naive. It was intentional. He trained himself to focus on solutions, avoid negative language, and reframe setbacks into opportunities. That mental resilience didn't come naturally. It came from consistent practice. Now it's your turn. Craft your own script. Write down a handful of powerful statements that resonate with you. Don't settle for generic affirmations. Make them personal, make them yours, speak them with passion, repeat them until they're etched into your mind. Let me help you start. I do not explain my strength, I declare it. I take action. My actions train my mind to believe in what I'm building. I'm not waiting for motivation to arrive. I move with discipline. Write your goals. Speak them aloud. Repeat them every single day. Here's what happens when you do. The inner voice that once hesitated will turn resilient. It will grow sharper, clearer, and unwavering even when uncertainty creeps in. And when that clarity takes root, everything shifts. You stop talking yourself out of action and start driving yourself into motion. You'll stop making excuses and start interrupting them with purpose. You'll stop doubting who you are and start reinforcing your identity with every move you make. This is how you conquer doubt. Not by waiting for it to fade, but by drowning it in truth. You replace the old, hesitant voice with a new, unshakable one. And when that new voice becomes the dominant force in your mind, doubt will try to creep in, but it won't stand a chance. Your mind will be too focused, too disciplined, too forward-driven to even acknowledge it. Here's my challenge to you. Make this process your daily ritual. Not once or twice, but consistently, again and again. Repetition is the foundation of transformation. It's how we become the people we're meant to be. There comes a pivotal moment in every person's life, a moment of choice. Will you follow fleeting feelings, or will you follow the decision you've made? Most people, without even realizing it, live under the rule of they act only when it feels good. They pause when it feels hard. They speak when they're confident and shrink back when they're unsure. And then they wonder why their lives remain stagnant. But those who create, who build, who leave a legacy, they live by something greater. They don't surrender to moods or fear disguised as logic. They act with intention. They move by faith, not the kind of faith that waits for courage to show up, but the kind that takes action before courage even arrives. Let me make this clear. Faith isn't some elusive force floating in the air. It's a mindset, a skill, a discipline. Faith is a choice you make, brick by brick, through repetition and unwavering commitment. You don't wait for proof to believe. Look at Henry Ford. When experts told him his ideas were impossible, he didn't flinch. They said the public wouldn't want cars. They said an 8-cylinder engine was a fantasy. His response was simple: build it anyway. His belief wasn't rooted in external validation. It came from within. He trained his faith through repetition, forward action, and an unyielding refusal to let doubt steer his ship. And Ford wasn't alone. Thomas Edison faced failure thousands of times before creating the electric light. Yet he never saw failure as defeat. Why? Because he had already decided success was inevitable. Every setback wasn't a reason to quit. It was proof that progress was being made. That's what real faith looks like. It's not emotion, it's identity in action. Most people, however, mistake emotion for direction. If something feels heavy, they think it's a sign to stop. If it feels uncertain, they assume it's the wrong path. But listen carefully. Discomfort isn't a stop sign. It's the price you pay to travel the road to greatness. Abraham Lincoln understood this better than most. He rose to the presidency at a time when the nation was tearing apart. His decisions would shape not only the fate of the United States, but also the course of human rights and slavery. With a divided cabinet and a country at war, Lincoln didn't let fear or uncertainty guide him. He anchored himself in conviction, moving forward even when the odds seemed insurmountable. That's the essence of leadership, of progress, of faith. You don't wait for the perfect moment or perfect feeling. You decide, you act, and you keep building brick by brick until your vision becomes reality. Doubt surrounded him, voices growing louder with skepticism. Yet, Lincoln stood firm. He didn't hesitate. He drafted the Emancipation Proclamation not because the crowd cheered him on, but because he was anchored in his mission. He acted on faith, not fleeting feelings, and that's what set him apart. Feelings can seem powerful, but they often deceive. They're rooted in the past, your old habits, your old story, your old fears. Faith, on the other hand, is a voice from your future. It speaks from the vision of the person you're becoming, not the person you've been. This is why I emphasize repetition so much. Repetition builds faith. The more you declare what you believe and the more you act as though it's true, the stronger that belief becomes. Over time, it shifts from effort to instinct, and when faith takes over as your default, emotions lose their hold. So ask yourself, who's steering your life right now? Is it the person driven by clarity, vision, and purpose? Or is it the person who waits until everything feels perfect? Decide today. Commit to leading with faith, not waiting for the right feelings to show up. Leading with faith means showing up even when you're tired, speaking your truth even when your voice trembles, and pushing forward even when the results aren't visible yet. Faith isn't about proof, it's about conviction. And if you want to live this out, here's a simple practice. Start each morning by declaring what you believe out loud. Not what you feel, but what you choose to stand for. Say it with me. I act before I feel ready. I am not controlled by emotion, I command it. I walk in faith because the future version of me is already real. Then move. Don't overthink.